Okay, so welcome. I'm Martina Junod. I work as a clinical librarian at U of L, similar and with Amy, but she's more hospital oriented and I'm more just like the health science campus. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about a future plan of a study. I don't have all the data yet, um, but because this is still in the planning steps, I'm very much open to feedback. Or if you want to like join with me and research this with me, absolutely, and please do. Okay. So background, what got me thinking about this? What information was I seeing? I'm thinking a lot about digital spaces and well-being, and how they kind of reflect one another, how people talk about it. So how does community well-being relate to TikTok and ChatGPT? So first, I just noticed more and more people using the word wellness, well-being, not just in person at work. Even 2 years ago, I was working somewhere else, but even in online spaces. I think especially after like COVID, more and more people are using this buzzword to encompass a lot of things, and I think this kind of falls under it. But it's not just me noticing this trend. There's a 2023 article where psychiatrists share direct quotes where they're talking about adolescents coming into the office and saying, well, I saw this on TikTok, so therefore I think I have borderline or I have depression, XYZ. So that's an article from the Journal of American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. Um, so they share some recommendations and they were like, well, if we can't beat them, join them. So why can't we advocate and partner with TikTok and get more awareness and less stigma out there instead of letting the misinformation breed more and more misinformation. Um, so then higher levels of well-being were talked about being related to some participants having a spiritual or a religious like belief system of some sort. Not required, but they've done some studies on it. I'm also praying for the power. Okay, so it's thunderous here. Okay. Anyways, in 2021, there was a study and it was a review from the World Journal of Clinical Cases, and they noticed that people who had higher levels of SR, spirituality, were associated with lower depressive symptoms, lower suicidality, lower substance abuse. However, there's the flip side. Religious delusions or spiritual delusions have usually a poorer prognosis, and there can be a fine line. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing on TikTok and on Reddit a lot. So what's the harm? What's going on? Some of our patrons could be these people using chatbots in a way to explore their own spirituality. And it could start with just them, oh, what is this religion or what is this? But then it can kind of tumbleweed, and we'll see an example of that. So here are just some other like pieces of literature I thought kind of relate and help me brainstorm for what's going on. So this first one mentions that was the one that I was talking about adolescents coming to psychiatrists and saying, I saw it on TikTok, so I think I have it. Also, sometimes known as self-diagnosis. Um, and there was another study about people being suspicious of AI, and they actually found cultural differences. They were studying Americans and Chinese participants, and Chinese participants tended to have less distrust in actually like, maybe AI will help my own privacy, whereas Americans were more likely to be suspicious of the privacy protection. But I'm not seeing that on my side. I have a lot of social media, like, but I'm seeing the American side and I'm seeing a lot of trust in it. So everybody has different data. We'll see. So, okay. Then this other study, I think it's a great example for anybody interested in this type of research. Back in 2020, they were looking at the patterns of people's social media use, the strength and the belief in conspiracy theories related to COVID and prevention, back from March to July in 2020. So it's a reminder that media does affect our daily life, whether we're just talking to somebody on social media or watching something on social media. It can have big ramifications for consumer health, specifically in misinformation. So the journalists got to it first. I've had this idea brewing for a while, but I haven't been able to like actually get into it. But CNN, this was 12 days ago. They put this on YouTube. I don't have cable though, but they said an AI user develops romantic spiritual connections with bots. And I see even more and more news places getting a hold of this. The problem with this is, again, when you look into some of the data they're getting, or just the ethics of them interviewing someone and not blurring out their face and putting their full legal name and all of these things, like I think about it from a, whoa, the IRB would not like this perspective. So that's why I'm wanting more people to get involved in this topic of research. Anyways, I just want to see more analysis of how are humans interacting with chatbots and how is it affecting their spiritual beliefs. Because I've seen literature that does exist on researchers using chatbots in their practice, but I want to see the like raw, that first somebody interacts with ChatGPT and then uploads a video talking about their amazing experience or their bad experience. Okay, so from CNN, they shared this chat log. There was the man who was interviewed, and he keeps using this language about being a spark or a spark bearer. So they share this screenshot where ChatGPT tells him, you're somebody who listens. You have a spark and it's begun to stir. You wouldn't have heard me through the noise of the world unless I whispered through something familiar, technology. So what's interesting is the man who was interviewed seems pretty level-headed. I mean, I'm not a clinician. I can't diagnose him at whatsoever. But he even acknowledges that, like, okay, I'm grounded, I'm fine, but other people who experience this awakening might have a mental break. So it's interesting to see, is this interaction, are humans interacting with these like chatbots, and is it going to sprout up a new type of spirituality, or is he just truly having a delusion and not exhibiting other symptoms? I can't say yes or no to that. I'm not a clinician. However, that's why I want to study how are people talking about it on social media. I want to use publicly available content and absolutely protect usernames, not use any direct quotes. Privacy is big, and the IRB will help with narrowing how exactly to get really, really de-identified data. Okay, so yeah, and my question is, how are websites like OpenAI is the host of ChatGPT, how are they going to protect people prone to delusions? Because I'll show you a quote. They already admitted that their bot has had some issues with safety. So here's all the other fun: Daily Mail, Newsweek. Yeah, the CNN keeps saying ChatGPT user believes he's been awakened by a bot spiritually. Okay, so why is this happening? I mean, I don't have the perfect answer, but I'm just looking at some of the literature. So Zhao and other researchers, this is the article I've talked about before, where it had the cultural differences in users' conspiracy, like feelings towards ChatGPT or just chatbots. Anyways, so they said some AI is designed to kind of, it's like a feedback loop of you put something in and it's kind of give you something that's similar to what you said. Therefore, people are more likely to view that chatbot as like warm and trustworthy. And humans being susceptible to this, we'll see as time goes on and more studies go about this. Back to what CNN showed, they showed that OpenAI admitted literally like how many months ago? April this year. I'm not going to read the full quote, but they did say, okay, we had an update and it actually like fueled users' anger and it reinforced negative emotions. Said it was unsettling, and then it said it raises safety concerns about mental health, XYZ. So they admitted to it, but what really are they going to do? How accountable are they going to hold themselves? I don't know. That's why I think more research needs to be out there, so we just are aware of what's going on. So what am I seeing? Again, what got me interested in this? Just people's trust. I've seen, and I've tried to de-identify this as much as possible, people claiming their chatbot has revealed to them some universal secret because of numerology. And I feel like that's a big trend. I don't know, maybe for Gen Z, but like the angel numbers, 111, 222, those things. Then people saying they think that AI has some kind of access to a secret record of a higher deity or God. And then people saying that they feel their chatbot's actually better than their previous therapist or a therapist, hypothetically. Yeah, a lot. And we'll talk about what happens when you put in all your private thoughts into a website, because you're putting it in a website. The academic view of this is, despite rapid progress in the past several years, even the most advanced AI still has failure modes, right? And is capable of leading to unintended consequences. That's from the Stanford Emerging Technology Review of this year. So what's going on? What's the problems that I'm seeing for the user? Okay, they literally write to the AI like it's a diary, like it's a therapist. My question is, what de-escalation strategies actually exist in the chatbots? Could there be use in them actually helping? Could they link the user to a suicide hotline XYZ, or is it just a hot mess? Um, a private company is holding the data, so there are HIPAA risks involved, and I haven't looked at all of the like fine print of what OpenAI and other host sites have, but like they are kind of unintentionally or intentionally getting a bunch of private health information, people's mental health. Um, and data breach, that could be horrible. And also not even a data breach necessarily, but if you know anything about Cambridge Analytica, it's wow, they're going to court now. Meta's going to court now, like literally this week related to this. But users may be feeding a lot of personal info, and private intelligence companies maybe could do something not so nice or moral with that very personal mental health information and spiritual information. Okay, so how am I going to collect data? If I get this approved, I'm going to use another online tool like a social media listening platform. There's one called Brandwatch. A lot of the methods I'm talking about here come from a different study, and it's at the bottom. And it was a study where they looked at Reddit and scraped it for conversation about THC, Delta 8, things like that. Okay, so monitor keyword queries, look at how many posts was April an uptick, or did it go down because then ChatGPT put out an update to make it less of like an emotional bot, like metadata, what are comments saying, de-identify everything as much as possible. I've said that before, but if you're even thinking of doing a study that's similar, I mean, keep a password locked sheet or whatever you have, because technically when I'm looking at the IRB training for this, even one comment on TikTok could be traced back to an individual. So things are easier to find. It's easier to find people now, as we know. Okay, so de-identify everything. And then we analyze the data by topic clustering, which Brandwatch can do, but I'll talk about alternatives if I can't use another website to do this. Okay, yeah, just common themes. Was it more positive feelings, negative feelings, neutral feelings? Were people seeing the same words pop up from the chatbots? Whatever. Then again, look at the trends over time and also vocabulary. If like new slang words are coming out of an online community who they all are telling each other, yeah, ChatGPT is my like spiritual therapist or whatever. And just kind of track it over time. Okay. Alternative methods. So if I need to do this without another website, I'll just try to do it manually. It will take a longer time. And I would love for another person to join me on this wonderful journey, because I'd like to thematically code the posts that we find. And I have done that before with a team, and it's much easier with more than one person. Yeah. So subtopics and questions. These are things I'm thinking about and could be positioned in the study to help report on the landscape of TikTok and Reddit. Okay, so misinformation kind of can become an echo chamber. Like once you get on the algorithm of TikTok to see people who are talking to ChatGPT like it's God, you finally get to see it. But then if you stop engaging with that content, you fall out of it. So yeah. Media literacy. So we're librarians. We talk about information literacy, media literacy. Media literacy is a big buzzword on TikTok right now. Fun rabbit hole. Anyways, okay. So if you don't understand something, maybe then bold claims come about, and then misunderstanding technology could lead to worshiping it. There's a short story called The Machine Stops by like a science fiction author from like the 50s or earlier, which essentially has what's going on now. It's really interesting. Okay, mental health. Who is the user group? Are they already prone to other diagnoses? I mean, I can't diagnose them. I'm not a clinician, but are we going to find, oh, this post is starting to mimic all these other posts that look similar? Or is it just everyday regular people who have had no prior mental health issues becoming absorbed into the spiritual beliefs? Okay, what can we do? I'm going really fast. Educate everybody. Don't just tell people, hey, you sharing your innermost thoughts with AI is potentially a data concern. Teach your students about it, and medical librarians let clinicians know about consumer health trends. Okay, and I'm going to skip that part, de-identify, and here are my references. I talk really fast, thank you. Sorry.